Number 59 on AFI's 100 Years, 100 Movies list is Nashville from 1975. Now, before I get my head ripped off in the comments section again, I don't generally like musicals, I don't like country music, and I don't like gospel music. If those are things you enjoy, this movie will resonate with you a lot better than it did for me, although there was quite a lot to like in this movie. I did my best to go into this one objectively, but with over an hour of musical numbers in genres that I don't care for, it was impossible to put aside all of my personal preferences fully. Nashville is directed by Robert Altman, who has an incredibly extensive body of work with many titles you're sure to recognize. It was written by Joanne Tewksbury, an oftentimes collaborator of Altman's. The unique screenplay was based on Tewksbury's real-life experiences on traveling to this musical mecca with some extra threads created by Altman himself. What makes the screenplay so unique is the size of the cast of characters. Nashville has 24 main characters, and the plot takes place over only 5 days. That is a whole lot of content to fit into a single movie, even with the runtime of 2 hours and 40 minutes. The insane ensemble cast includes names like Ned Beatty, David Arkin, Keith Carradine, Shelley Duvall, Jeff Goldblum, and Lily Tomlin. With so many members of the cast, I'm not going to sit here and list all of them. There may be names that stand out to you more based on your own film history. A cool touch of the movie, since Nashville is so synonymous with music, was how many artists show up to play themselves. The many story threads of Nashville overlap throughout the course of the entire film. They're all loosely tied together as all the characters are part, in one way or another, of a political rally for a fictional politician, Hal Philip Walker. This was an uncredited role played by Thomas Hal Phillips. Walker himself isn't one of the larger story threads, but his presence is always felt as his tour bus roams the streets of the infamous city blaring political messages over the PA system. Nashville wastes no time, it can't afford to, in getting started. We're introduced to many characters and get a glimpse of their individual struggles. Havin Hamilton, played by Henry Gibson, is conceited and all about making money. He has a patriotic anthem, 200 Years, that fits right into the atmosphere and the tones of this movie. Barbara Jean, played by Ronnie Blakely, is beloved by her fans, but her psyche and health are fragile. She shows up to Nashville after a stay in the hospital and seems to be still having some medical issues. Opal, played by Geraldine Chaplin, is a journalist from the BBC. This quirky character stumbles their way through trying to interview all of these performers and get a sense of Nashville itself while completely misunderstanding the entire thing. Lene Reese, played by Lily Tomlin, is a gospel singer. Her personal life is tough. She has 2 deaf children, is in a tense marriage to Delbert Reese, played by Ned Beatty, who is looking to make the jump from lawyer to politician. Tom Frank, played by Keith Carradine, is a womanizing folk singer. He comes across as charming enough, but he is very manipulative. Albuquerque, played by Barbara Harris, is an aspiring singer. She hitchhikes her way into town and is chasing her dream of becoming a star. Suleen Gay, played by Gwen Wells, is also an aspiring singer, but doesn't have the talent to back up her dreams. She will do anything to make it and is utterly humiliated while stripping at a political fundraiser. This scene is very telling in the exploitation of women in this world. The point here is really hammered home with Hamilton's persistence in maintaining his polished public image. He, being a man, doesn't have the same cares that the women in town do. Norman, played by David Arkin, is an outsider to this world. He's a chauffeur who watches the chaotic 5 days unfold while getting close to Albuquerque. That is, the character we just talked about and not the city. These very characters have stories that feel larger than the glimpses that we get of them on the screen. The stories cross paths, overlap, and collide. I couldn't help but think how hard it must have been to keep all of this straight for the director and the editors. The political rally picks up quickly as Walker's campaign selects certain local performers and leverages the city's music scene for their own purposes. As all of these stories cross and the politicians get in the middle of it all, the characters' insecurities and humanity comes through the show business facade that they're all putting forward. As the days pass, the intensity of the story increases. Characters begin to let their inner feelings come out, whether they want them to or not. Barbara Jean is trying to manage her health issues while her husband/manager, Barnett, played by Alan Garfield, puts a lot of pressure on her. He's desperate to keep her career going, but it feels like he's doing it for his benefit at her detriment. Lene and Tom hook up, which is a big character moment for Lene and her quiet desperation outside of her domestic life. Opal's journalistic endeavor continues on, despite it not being what she, or anyone else, wants it to be. A big part of the movie is the titular city of Nashville itself. The city is a character with everyone interacting with it. Many of the city's highlights of the day are showcased, which is a pretty cool stamp in US history. The movie builds toward the political rally itself at the Parthenon. Barbara Jean, ever the professional, gives a powerful performance at Opryland. Just as a couple examples. The climax of the movie is the rally. There's a ton of musical numbers, and the whole thing is built up to be a massive spectacle, as you'd expect. There are spoilers here for the movie. I am going to talk about the very ending because it's important for a couple of the characters, and this is absolutely a character piece. I know the movie is going on 50 years old now, but spoilers just the same. A man named Kenny, played by David Hayward. He's been lurking around Nashville the whole movie and makes his presence known when he shoots Barbara Jean during her performance. A tragedy made even worse since she should have been getting medical care and not on stage at all. Albuquerque follows the age-old adage of never letting a good tragedy go to waste. She grabs the microphone and gives an impromptu performance, seeing this gap in the show's programming as her time to shine. The audience is apparently very easily swayed. The audience joins in a sing-along of her song. The movie ends here, a shooting of a woman who didn't deserve it, followed by an upbeat tune with audience participation. The contrast is intentional to show the ridiculousness of the entertainment industry, a message that resonates even stronger today than 50 years ago when the movie was made. I kicked off this review with the disclaimer that this kind of movie and the music in it was not my thing. I will say I was pleasantly surprised at how much this movie did have to offer for someone like me, even with that opening statement being completely true. Handling such an ensemble cast and so many stories was fascinating to watch. The political and social commentaries inside the movie were good enough for me to suffer through all of the country music. The American dream as portrayed in this movie was already ridiculousness in the grand scheme of things. The shooting at the end makes that clear. This is another aspect that's further compounded now with the word celebrity meaning so little. Altman expertly directs this complicated movie. Complicated to make, not to follow as an audience member. The overlapping dialogue, long takes, and style that feels incredibly natural. This helps to immerse anyone watching it into the story, which makes it feel all the more real. These are trademarks of Altman's work. Nashville received loads of critical acclaim. It earned 5 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture and Best Original Song. It won for the song, the one titled I'm Easy, that Keith Carradine performs in the movie. With such an ambitious script and massive cast, I expected the finances behind the movie to also be massive. They were not nearly as big as I expected. The budget was reported to be only $2.2 million, which even in 1975 was relatively small, especially considering the cast and all of the on-location shooting in Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville was accepted very well by critics and is considered a landmark in movie history, but it was only moderately successful according to the studio upon its release. It earned approximately $10 million at the box office. 10 out of $2.2 million doesn't seem like a bad return, even if you factor in whatever the advertising budget was. It was still profitable. I guess when you consider that marketing and the amount of work that went into it, ABC Motion Pictures thought it would make a lot more money given the effort and scope of the work. Word of mouth and time did help the movie succeed further, and it's now considered one of Robert Altman's defining projects. It's also crucial viewing for anyone looking to take on ensemble storytelling in movies or pretty much any other medium. Check out this playlist for all the AFI movies I've covered so far, and be sure to subscribe so you can follow the list all the way through to number 1.
I hope you had fun. Share, like, subscribe, comment down below.